5 weeks ago, when the US and Israel launched their war against Iran, US President Donald Trump publicly called for the Iranians to rise up against the regime. Hours after the launch of Operation Epic Fury, Trump said this to the Iranian people.
Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
It's clear that the US hoped that some sort of civilian-led mass uprising would follow the strikes on Iran's leadership, which killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei along with other senior regime officials. However, this much-awaited uprising hasn't happened, and instead the Iranian regime has prevailed, becoming fractured between the surviving members of the religious leadership in Tehran and the increasingly powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. Moreover, speculation is growing about the whereabouts of Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, and whether he's even alive. So in this video, we'll explain how Trump's plan for regime change in Iran is backfiring, and discuss who's actually running Iran. We sometimes make mistakes in our videos, and when we do, we think it's really important for us to be as open and transparent as possible. That's why we have a bi-weekly podcast called The Editorial, where we respond to your criticisms, answer your questions, and explain what we got wrong. Watch the show by clicking the link in the description. First, a quick explainer on the Iranian regime. Unlike the pyramidal structure of dictatorships in places like Russia, the Iranian regime is more like a series of pillars. The supreme leader acts as the main decision-making authority. The IRGC is responsible for the regime's survival militarily, as well as controlling a significant part of the economy and suppressing dissent. The judiciary and the Bajti militia, a volunteer force within the IRGC, are responsible for enforcing Islamic law and promoting ideological conformity. And the so-called axis of resistance, including Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, are used to protect Iranian interests in the wider region. In February, US-Israeli strikes on Tehran killed Iran's longtime supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, along with various family members and 7 other senior Iranian leaders. Iran then appointed an interim leadership council, a 3-person committee consisting of the elected president Masoud Pezeshkian, the chief justice, and Ayatollah Arazi Afri, to lead Iran until Khamenei's successor was appointed. On the 8th of March, Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, was announced as the new supreme leader, a clear continuity candidate and a symbol of the Iranian regime. However, since then, Iran has faced various leadership problems. Firstly, the IRGC, the Iranian regime's 190,000-strong military force, has taken an increasingly powerful role in running the country, limiting the interim council's influence. Second, there's growing speculation about the status of Mojtaba Khamenei, with rumours circulating that he's in Moscow, a claim refuted by Russia's ambassador to Tehran, who said on Tuesday that Khamenei is actually in Iran, with others speculating that he might also be in a coma or even dead. For context, since the strikes killed the previous Ayatollah, Mojtaba Khamenei hasn't been seen in public, prompting questions about whether he could actually survive a strike that killed his father, several family members, and various other leaders. Some sources claim that Mojtaba was injured, but survived because he took a walk in the garden minutes before the strike. However, Mojtaba has only actually issued 2 official statements, one of which was apparently riddled with typos after being dictated, as well as, according to BBC Verify, a photo of him posted by the Ayatollah's X account that was manipulated by AI, fueling rumours about his state. The third problem facing Iran is the potential assassination of yet more regime officials. Last week, Trump refused to tell reporters the name of an Iranian figure the US claimed it was negotiating with, saying it's a little tough, we've wiped out everybody, and adding, I don't want them to be killed. Some commentators suggest that this is a sign that Israel was assassinating any Iranian figures that the US might be negotiating with, although it's also possible that Trump was being facetious, especially as Iran has denied any negotiations with the US were taking place. Anyway, all of this means that as the US reportedly prepares for weeks of ground operations in Iran looks somewhat leaderless, with the IRGC apparently taking control of both the war and the state. So this brings us onto the big question: who's actually running Iran? Well, as we mentioned, the IRGC seems to be consolidating power in Iran, shifting the system from a theocracy to something more like a military junta. One source, speaking to The Economist, said that this war for the IRGC was a blessing, adding that it had sealed their place at the helm. For the US and Israel, this is bad news. A fractured leadership structure means a more unpredictable and chaotic adversary, and decentralized IRGC cells could also form a guerrilla force, like the Houthis, that could keep the Strait of Hormuz closed indefinitely. Specifically, the IRGC uses what's known as a mosaic defense structure, a concept developed by former IRGC commander Mohammed Ali Jafri, who led the force from 2007 to 2019. This organizes the IRGC into dozens of regional and semi-independent layers, reportedly 31 sub-districts to be precise, rather than concentrating power in a single command chain. The idea is that this prevents the IRGC from being paralyzed by any decapitation strike, like the ones that took out Iran's senior leaders in late February, and ensures Iran can continue fighting even under heavy attack, as units can operate independently even if the senior leadership is destroyed. As such, when Iran began its retaliatory strikes against the Gulf states, these strikes seemed somewhat random and uncoordinated, because local IRGC commanders were launching drones and missiles at different targets with relative autonomy. In a possible sign of tensions with the Interim Council, in early March, Iran's president, Pezeshkian, actually apologized to neighbouring countries for the IRGC's attacks against them, suggesting the attacks were carried out under fire-at-will instructions following the US-Israeli decapitation strikes. According to a senior journalist at BBC Persian, Pezeshkian might also have been trying to signal to the rest of the world that Iran didn't want to escalate the war into a broader regional conflict. While the Interim Council system should in theory increase the influence of figures like Pezeshkian, who had less power under the Supreme Leader, in practice the Council has limited ability to control IRGC commanders, who seem to be making their own decisions independently. Ultimately, as Iran's strongest armed actor, the IRGC can impose its rule on Iranians through brute force and military power. We saw this recently in January, when Iran's paramilitary Basiji militia, a branch of the IRGC, and other security forces, massacred perhaps 30,000 Iranian civilians protesting against the regime. As Foreign Affairs magazine points out, the IRGC's leaders tend to be hardliners who thrive in perpetual conflict with both external and internal forces, meaning that if they are solidifying power, Iran will continue its antagonistic anti-Israel and anti-American posture, perhaps even more aggressively. Given that an IRGC-led Iran would amount to an authoritarian military state, something like North Korea or Syria under former President Bashar al-Assad, if one of Trump's war aims was indeed toppling Iran's hardline regime, then not only does the US appear to be failing, but it might actually have ushered in an even more powerful, more emboldened, military-controlled regime. Now, there are a lot of big players involved in this story, and it's no secret that the world we live in is run by big players like these. But not just in the world of politics. Big companies also have a complete monopoly over the world we live in, and avoiding them is kind of out of our control, as they seep into every part of our day-to-day life. But what if we told you that you could get some of that control back, starting with your email? I know you're thinking, my email? How much will that actually help? Well, your email is personal to you, and it's important to keep hold of what's yours. Most messaging apps make sure to let you know that your messages are end-to-end encrypted. So why do emails deserve any less? Well, thankfully, ProtonMail offers a solution to this. It's a private, secure alternative to big companies like Gmail, and will give you everything you need to be productive while also keeping those pesky ads away from your inboxes. Although it's more than just the annoying ads, it's the fact that every single person is born with privacy, but now that privacy is essentially non-existent because of our digital world. Today, children begin building their digital identity before they're even born, without them even having a choice. Email inboxes weren't created to protect children. They were designed to collect data and feed that information into AI systems that will shape the way they're categorized and targeted for life. That's where ProtonMail's Born Private campaign comes in, as they offer a complete generational reset, giving you the opportunity to reserve an email account for your child. Their account can easily be reserved today, and it can be secured and protected for up to 15 years. This will give your child a secure digital start from day one, as when they're ready, their inbox is waiting, private, clean, and fully theirs. So if you want to take back your privacy or protect the future privacy of your family, start using Proton Mail for free using our link at proton.me/bp/TLDR, and you'll be one step closer to a fully protected online experience, free from data exploitation.